Hello, listeners. Joining us today is Aggroed Lighthacker, co-founder of Splinterlands. Hello, Aggroed. Welcome to the Bat Community Podcast.
Oh, it is an absolute honor to be here. Just thrilled and grateful and excited. So thank you for having me.
I'm so happy to hear that. So yesterday, Brave and Splinterlands announced a partnership, which is why we're here today. Splinterlands is a decentralized browser-based collectible card game, not unlike Magic the Gathering, if you're already familiar with that. And it also happens to be the most popular game on the blockchain currently. With this partnership, Brave has become the official browser of Splinterlands, helping to bring Splinterlands players to a new, privacy-focused, Web3-ready browser for all of their blockchain gaming and, hopefully, general browsing needs, and exposes Brave users to the #1 blockchain game. Plus, we've built a new utility case for BAT because Splinterlands accepts BAT directly for in-game purchases. We are excited about the last part because it means that Brave users who are already familiar with Ethereum can now make purchases in Splinterlands with BAT controlled by their crypto wallet, which is Brave's native crypto wallet designed to interact directly with the Ethereum blockchain. And as for our users who are new to blockchain, this is yet another opportunity for us to start acquainting them. So evidently, there is a lot to be excited about here, and I'm really happy to have you on Aggroed to talk about it. But first, I'd love for you to share a little bit about yourself and how you wound up creating Splinterlands.
So back as a kid, I've been a gamer forever, and my partner Matt has been a gamer forever as well. I liked designing games. He liked programming games. So the two of us had kind of parallel geek lives together. Mm-hmm. We didn't know each other back in the day. We met more recently than that. But you know, he's been making video games since he was like 9, and I've been playing D&D and Magic and all these other things since I was a kid too. Professionally, I got here the weirdest way possible. I think I'm a PhD chemist. And I became a professor of chemistry, and I was teaching and using software in my class, and it really helped my students learn. So I told the publishing company about my experience, and they said, you know what, we are happy to pay you to tell this to other professors. And that launched a 10-year publishing career for me in sales and marketing. And I covered for one of these multi-billion-dollar companies from all the way up to Maine, down to Florida, out to Chicago typically, and sometimes all the way out to like California and Oregon. So there's a Johnny Cash song called I'm an Everywhere Man, and I've been to all those places and more. So yeah, I was doing like 120 flights a year, but at some of the same time, that was like my professional career. Back in 2014, I made a Kickstarter game. And it wasn't anything amazing. It made 21 grand. It was a sassy little game. It was fun. Publishing it, like physically publishing it, was a bit of a nightmare. I didn't want to go through that experience again, but I really liked having made my own game. So I immediately started making another, and then it just sat on a shelf for a while. So Matt and I met over a totally different project. We were doing a small marketing blogging thing. And right after we had figured out how we wanted that deal to work, he was like sitting back, having a sip of Pepsi or something. And he says, you know what I really want to do is make a game. And I said, it's funny you should mention that. I have one sitting on a shelf, ready to go. The whole art is done. Most of the game mechanics exist. I just don't have a place that I want to publish it. And we started going through, how could we do this? And that was the birth of Splinterlands. And, you know, it has its origins back in 2014, but Matt and I had that conversation of April of 2018, and we launched the game in May of 2018. Like, you couldn't do all that much. It was just mostly collecting, but because so much of this was done, it was less than a month before we actually got the thing off the ground.
And it was Steam Monsters before it was Splinterlands, wasn't it?
That's right. So we built it on Steam. Now, most people, their first thought is Steam, like the game company. No, not that Steam, the other Steam, which most people in crypto know for the blogging platform. And then more recently know it because Justin Sun basically performed a 51% attack on it. Mm-hmm. So we built there, and it surprised everybody. Everybody said, why did you build here instead of Ethereum? And Ethereum is great. Don't get me wrong. We wouldn't be here if CryptoKitties hadn't been a smash success, and we hadn't been able to like look at something and say, hey, I think that we could do this here. So we absolutely stand on the shoulders of what Ethereum has built and what they have pioneered. But that said, having gas fees on a blockchain for a game in which there's so many transactions is not a good or user-friendly experience. So one of the things that attracted us to Steam was it is a freemium blockchain and that there's no gas fees for your transactions. And one of the things that does is it means that players can come in and they can sign up with a username and password, and they don't have to own crypto first before they're able to play. And our goal as a company, Matt and I just like absolutely love crypto. And for me personally, I think it is the single best tool to help spread peace, abundance, and liberty throughout the world. And so I really want this to be successful. We think that, or I guess I don't want to speak for Matt. So for me personally, I think there might be more money that comes into the space because of like high finance and decentralized finance and big dollar projects. But in terms of getting people here, I think gaming is the single best way to get people involved in crypto. It's so tangible, it's entertainment, it's the gamer mentality and the crypto mentality has so much overlap. So I see it as a Trojan horse to get people that are gamers into crypto. And it's like, come for this fun game and stay for the life-changing crypto experience. And
what a great analogy.
Well, yeah, this place is amazing. There's some pockets of crypto that are less than amazing, but we really like it. And I just think it's such a powerful tool for economic liberty, for actually defending freedom of speech. It is a really powerful tool. And so it's my hope that by just presenting a really fun collectible card game where, in a lot of traditional games, you go and you just like spend your money. And as that money goes in, it's entertainment. And at the beginning that the money is gone. It's kind of like going to a movie, right? Like you spend your $20, you get your popcorn, you have a limited time experience, and you write it off and say, okay, this was entertainment and enjoyable. But it's not something that you continue to hold as an asset. And that's one of the things that happens here with Splinterlands that's different in that if you choose to buy some cards in our game, that money isn't just gone because there's secondary markets. After you've had your fun, you could cash out and just say, okay, well, I'm done playing and I'll just sell all this stuff out to the market.
That's right. That's right.
And it makes for a totally different mentality about how people think about what purchases they're going to make and what options are available to them. But ultimately, none of that is possible if there's lots and lots of transaction fees everywhere. Like on the chain, we do about 500,000 or 600,000 transactions per day. Wow. And if there were like, $1 to $7 fees on every single one of those, right, this game would be totally unsustainable. But here, and also just not fun. It's not fun to have to pay, $1 if you want to go pick a team, and $1 if you want to transfer a card, and $1 if you want to whatever. Part of building a good user experience is not having that kind of friction built within it. So everybody thought that we were kind of just like out of our minds when we built in a place that was different than most companies were building. Mm-hmm. But our goal isn't just to get people already in crypto to play these games. Our goal is to really be the first game to mainstream blockchain gaming. And if we can do that, I just look at how many lives we can impact by bringing more folks into crypto.
Wow. Yeah. It's interesting because the Splinterlands mission is very much in alignment with what Brave is trying to do as well in terms of acting as a portal for the mainstream into the world of crypto.
Absolutely.
It's also fascinating to hear your underlying philosophical motivations for building a blockchain-based game. Like, you're not just trying to seize on crypto because it's hot right now, but instead you mentioned earlier that you actually view crypto as the single best tool to spread, what was it, peace, abundance, and liberty throughout the world, which I just love. Now, I'd love for us to be able to dive into the game a little bit and give people an overview. As the CM of BAT, I constantly have a pulse on the community. And while the feedback on this partnership has been nothing but positive so far,
Sweet.
yeah, there have been a number of intrigued folks who hadn't heard of Splinterlands and who were calling upon any experienced Splinterlands players to share their experience with the game, like a mini review. And I know you're probably too biased for a review.
Well, it's the greatest game that's ever been built ever.
That's right. But an overview, but I think an overview would be excellent.
Sure. So we stand on the shoulders of giants. There are other beautiful, amazing games that are out there. Some of the big ones that come to mind are Magic the Gathering, Hearthstone, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh! These form kind of like the foundation of trading card games. And they can all have their unique rule sets. And what we didn't want to do is make an exact clone of any of them. It's really hard to out Hearthstone or out Magic. Those guys have been around for a long time. They're billion-dollar companies. So we wanted something that felt close enough to these trading card game experiences so that they'd be familiar, but novel enough and different enough so that it was clearly a Splinterlands take on it that felt unique. And so in a lot of those trading card games, what you do is I'll have a deck and you'll have a deck, and turn by turn, we play these cards, and we'll do that over a 20-minute to 60-minute experience. And in Splinterlands, we didn't want to do that, in part because too frequently the meta in those games end up being there's 5 or 6 acceptable decks that you can play, and everything else is out of the meta, so you have to play one of those, and you just have to grind it out to finish the season. And that can be fun, and those games can be like really entertaining, but that wasn't quite what we wanted in our game. So what we do in ours is we make it a 3-minute match. And so what you have to do in the game technically is really simple. You click on a monster, or you click on a summoner, and then you click on a collection of monsters. Mm-hmm. And that's the end of what you have to do to play the game. You click these characters. So the input is as simple as humanly possible. But the strategy for this is extremely complicated. And that's because you have, there's all these kind of different rules that impact it. And not only that, the rules change every single match. So when you get matched up with an opponent, there's unique rule sets that apply to just that match. And then there's a different mana cap. How much power of monsters can you put into that match changes in the matches. Mm-hmm. And then what teams are available to use change. And so every single match is kind of under these different conditions. So once you see the conditions and you see what your opponent tends to choose, then it's your time to go in and say, okay, given all of these conditions, these are the current rules, and these are what my opponent likes to do, and these are the teams that are available. You then get 2 minutes and 30 seconds to pick your summoner and pick your monsters and come up with a team that you think is best able to defeat what they're likely to do. And then what is a little bit alarming to some of the hardcore gamers from these other games at first is that the rest of the game is simulated combat. And they're like, well, why would I want to do that? That seems to take all the fun out. But one of the things I mentioned is that the game then is only 2 to 3 minutes long. So right as soon as you've picked your strategy, you can kind of see the results or go quickly play through the match. Yes, and then you're right back into the next game because they're just 2 to 3 minute quick little battles that are really meant more for like a mobile universe or a short time universe, or just waiting for a phone call, waiting for your next meeting, playing in between like a game of Magic and a game of Hearthstone. You kind of fit in like one little game of Splinterlands. It's that in-between filler. We're not trying to be a 60-minute huge battle between, where we're really directly competing with those gigantic companies.
That's a smart idea, to make the matches brief and something that you can sneak in during a recess or in between client calls. So one thing that I noticed about Splinterlands when I was first putzing around on the site and trying to figure out how it all worked is that there's little to no mention of blockchain anywhere other than like in the FAQ. After listening to what you have to say for a bit now, I'd say that that was certainly a deliberate and strategic choice. Is that fair to say?
Oh, super, super important to us. So like the blockchain, we want it to be invisible to new players, right? Like, Blizzard doesn't come out and sell you what server they're running on, right? They sell you the game, they sell you it's fun, they tell you, this is how you can compete with your buddies. They talk about everything, but one thing they don't ever discuss to you is what server they run on. And we're basically doing the same thing. We want players to realize you can play anytime, you can trade anytime, you can earn every win. And all of that is powered by the fact that we use blockchain, but we want to go let the players know what cool benefits exist because of that, not shove the blockchain in their face, but be like, isn't it cool that you actually own your cards? Isn't it cool that it's a digital game where you own your cards and you can play this whenever you want? You don't have to wait until the shop is open or your brother's awake. Isn't it awesome that you can earn cryptocurrency when you're battling? How cool is that? But those things are neat. Hey, we are built on a blockchain. These are our server requirements. Like, it just doesn't, that stuff I don't think resonates with your average user. So we just got to be real careful. And also, our goal is to bring in new people, and new people can be scared of the word blockchain or crypto. It's like unfamiliar or something, or scary. And so, we just want to make that as invisible to players as possible. Look at all these cool things you can do here. And after you've been around for a while, you're like, well, how come I can do that? Why does it work this way? And then we start having those conversations and educate new people about, well, some of that's powered by a blockchain. Let's go talk about that.
Exactly. And I mean, we can relate because that sounds precisely like what Brave is trying to do too.
I want to share every time I speak to people from Brave, I'm just like, this is the easiest business relationship I've ever had. Like,
no way.
We do gaming and you guys do this browser experience. But just like from a mission standpoint, from an understanding standpoint, from an anything standpoint, it is so easy to work with you guys. And it's just like, yeah, we're trying to do that too. It's just like, all right, well then how do we partner? What else can we do? And how do we make this thing work? It's been extremely pleasurable.
That's so good to hear. And really, the partnership between Brave and Splinterlands is like a match made in heaven when you look at the alignment of both projects' missions and core values and the similar approach we take to educating our user bases about blockchain. So, like, in case that wasn't already enough, what else excites you about the partnership between Brave and Splinterlands?
Well, I wear different hats, right? As CEO of this business, the most exciting thing is that, we are a service where people have to pay to be here. And so, we can generate revenue, but we are always struggling to get users. We always need new blood and fresh people. Yeah. Because if you have a free service, it's kind of the opposite. You can always get new people, but then you always have to figure out, well, how do we keep sustaining the business? Just having people isn't enough. There needs to be money. Well, just having money isn't enough. There needs to be new people. And so to me, combining this browser experience with X many million of monthly active users with the game where it's pretty routine for people to spend money, it's this natural fit of these two ecosystems working together. So that's business me being like, all right, here's the firm stuff of why this is a good deal.
Yeah, for real. This deal is complementary and mutually beneficial for both ecosystems, and there's nothing wrong with stating that.
But me as a passionate human being that loves this space and just wants to see crypto everywhere, it's hard for me to imagine better partnerships that that could really just bring in users and make that transition easy for them and have this kind of wallet built in. What I really want is like a Web 2.0 login experience with the benefits of Web 3.0 and have that whole thing be totally invisible to users. And it's only when they themselves choose to be interested and start looking into it and being like, why do we get all these benefits? What creates this? Like, why is it that I've been browsing and now suddenly I have $100 worth of these tokens? Or why is it that I can sell my Splinterlands cards after I'm done playing? Like, at some point, this stuff starts clicking. And I think, doing the gentlest introduction possible to new people and then providing as many benefits as possible along the way makes a ton of sense and is really there to fulfill the mission of this company and my personal vision quest of bringing as many people into crypto as possible.
Mm-hmm. I see what you mean about the desire to create a seamless experience that has all of the trappings of Web 2, but that is able to offer so much more, and that hopefully will spark that curiosity in people when they begin to wonder, wait, how are they able to do this? That's when we can begin to swoop in with educational resources and have them be really well received, like, resources like this interview or, whatever format it takes. The point is that we're here and we're ready to guide and help educate you on these topics. What I think we should get into next is what each of our projects are doing to help expose Brave to Splinterlands players and vice versa, Splinterlands players to Brave. So of course, we've announced this partnership. The news is out there, and we're going to take a sort of rolling thunder approach in terms of communicating about this deal to our user bases going forward. So from our side, some of the things we're doing are running Brave ads for Splinterlands, I believe for the foreseeable future. And this is significant because out of our 20 million or so monthly active user base, about 30% are opted into Brave ads. So if you do the math, that's about 6 million monthly active users receiving repeated exposures to Splinterlands. We're also going to do some joint press, including more grassroots type stuff like this podcast, joint interviews, AMAs, etc. We will also be running features for Splinterlands in the news from our partners section in the Weekly Bat blog post, which is like a sum up of all of the announcements, news, events, and so on from that week, and accompanying podcast where we can cross-promote items from the Splinterlands blog, for example, such as news, contests, and anything else that may spark the interest of Brave users. In addition, we also have a couple of upcoming features in the product that will feature Splinterlands more prominently, but more on those later. Can't share too much about that right now.
On the reverse side of that, Splinterlands, starting November 7th, we are doing a land pre-sale. And currently the game has been summoners and monsters, but we are adding a whole nother tool set to players and a whole nother round of combat. So not only would you choose your summoners and monsters, but then you actually get to see what your opponent has chosen. And now before the match just starts playing, there's a second round of decision making where you pick your items and spells. And what we're doing to facilitate that is we are selling land, and players are going to own land. They'll be able to improve the land with various buildings to go harvest resources, store those resources, and convert those resources into item and spell cards.
Very cool.
So we think this is pretty novel in that, the big companies never looked at me and said, hey, Aggie, why don't you go, we're tired of making all these cards and money. Why don't you do it instead? Like, they never did that. But that's what we're doing with our players. We're saying, hey, we want you guys to be the ones to mint the items and spell cards.
Yeah.
And as part of that whole ecosystem and growth, I think that there's lots of ways where we can integrate Brave branded kind of gear, tools, characters, whatever, into this fantasy world that we're creating. So all all over the gaming experience, the players that are part of Splinterlands keep seeing either Bat-related or Brave-related characters and content throughout the game experience.
That's the coolest thing ever.
We got a whole bunch of nerds that are really stoked about it.
I think this partnership really signals the starting point of Brave's journey into the blockchain gaming space and the world of NFTs, which are things that we've been discussing internally for some time and that I know folks on the team are really stoked about. I think that anytime we have the opportunity to partner with a project or company with a similar mission or vision, the opportunity is welcome because not only does it serve to increase both projects' chances of success, but it also helps build stronger communities of like-minded people working together to make the world a better place in some way, which is something that is evidently just as important to you, Aggroed, and Splinterlands as it is to us at Brave. Not to monologue for too long, but I also wanted to mention the BAT utility case that we've been able to introduce thanks to this partnership, which I think brings a ton of added value to our users. Like I may have mentioned earlier, Brave has nearly 20 million monthly active users, and about 30% of those are opted into Brave ads and earning between $3 and $5 in BAT on average per month, which doesn't seem like a lot. And in the real world, it isn't. But when you can use BAT to pay for something online that costs cents or a few dollars, like an in-game purchase in a game like Splinterlands, instead of having to whip out your credit card, then the return on your BAT becomes greater than what it's worth at face value. And as many of our listeners know, part of the long-term plan with BAT is to grow its utility and ubiquity in the market by integrating it into as many other apps as possible, like gaming and attention economy apps. So I view our work with Splinterlands here as a definite step in the right direction in terms of creating that ubiquity that we're looking for long-term.
So I talked to a bunch of people that are part of, like, I will call them the financial wizards of the world. As we're trying to grow our company, talking to that group of people is pretty important. And one of them said to me, your goal has to be to dominate the market. And I was like, okay, interesting. Let me think about what that means in crypto. And if I were to go envision what does Splinterlands dominating everything look like, it's not where we're like, some monopolistic company that's throttling the ability of their ecosystem members to participate at all. It's quite the opposite. It's where we have integrated with as many different companies and as many different platforms as possible.
Exactly.
So, we are accepting Brave and the BAT token. We're doing that with Gala Games. We're doing that with Sandbox and the Sand token. Our goal, right after we announced Brave, we announced the token Electronium is now accepted for value at Splinterlands. And then we got a whole rush of players that were excited to use their Electronium and participate in this game that way. Mm-hmm. And so when what you're sharing of, we want to see Brave in more places and really integrate with the gaming industry, again, in the least shocking thing ever to me, our visions align. Mm-hmm. And it's like, how do we integrate as many games into the Brave experience? I'm sure that Splinterlands is not going to stop at just one game. We are going to keep making new, even if they're all under Splinterlands. Our first game is really a trading card battler. This expansion is like an empire builder. Mm-hmm. I think a year from now we'll likely start on something like a tactics game. I don't know if people are familiar with Final Fantasy Tactics, but I'm sure that we'll draw some. How do we turn that into a blockchain experience? But for all these different games, how do we build in Brave, and how do we build in BAT, and how do we build in the friends that we make along the way to just help interconnect everybody and just make it like a seamless, fun experience. And that's not quite the same thing as we're going to dominate, but that to me is what domination looks like. We have integrated and become friendly with all of our peers in this space.
That is perfectly put, Aggroed. Is there anything else you'd like to share with our listeners before we sign off today?
I'm really passionate about our community. we have a lot of our players live in Telegram and Discord with us, and it's a really, really passionate group of guys. And so sometimes they're hot-headed. There's money involved in this, and sometimes they can be frustrated with me or frustrated with other players. But I'll tell you, it's honestly one of the best communities I've found in all of crypto. These guys are generous. These guys are thoughtful. These guys will help you. And so if you're simply going to the website and checking out the game and just playing matches and you're entirely on your own, I think you're missing some of the best parts of this, of all the other passionate human beings that are trying to figure out how do we grow this thing together. We have a phrase that we like, that we all go to the same moon. And the question is, how do we work collectively together to continue to find ways that the cards do well, the games do well, that new players feel welcome in here, and that how do we make sure that our partners do well? And that mentality comes from, we all go to the same moon together. And it takes a lot of work to build a culture and a community like that, but I'm just super proud of the guys that are there.
Oh, that's beautiful and makes my heart sing as a community manager. So of course then we'll include links to the Splinterlands Discord and Telegram for any Brave users who want a fuller and richer Splinterlands experience. I also encourage any Splinterlands players wanting to learn more about BAT and Brave to join us on the BAT project subreddit, the Brave browser subreddit, and the Brave community forum, all of which will be linked in the YouTube description box.
So we did a 30-minute conversation with Luke in the Splinterlands Discord, Luke being from Brave. And yes, within that time, we had one of our players sign up, earn some BAT, and spend the BAT to go get Splinterlands cards. And that all happened within that 30-minute Discord call that we did, where it was really announced that it was even possible. So I was just like out of my mind happy to watch, not only is the mission aligned, but just like the ease of use and the way that players and the browser users could go integrate what they're doing. It literally took less than 30 minutes from the very first time I saw it or it was even announced. That's the journey that I want these folks to experience. I want it frictionless and easy, and that was about as quick and easy and simple and interlocking as I could have hoped for. I feel like this thing is off to a fantastic start. I'm really grateful to the Brave team. I'm really grateful for the community that's already coming over from Brave, and I'm excited for the way that our community is welcoming those players as they're coming in. We've been blessed by having players that are hardcore crypto enthusiasts and hardcore trading card players, and the folks from Brave typically, to a person, have that hardcore crypto enthusiast, but they don't all come with that gaming experience. And so coming into this community and seeing friendly faces and explaining, hey, if you have a melee tank, you want to put them in the first position, but the range characters you don't want to have in the first position, and just kind of explaining some of the nuances of the game has worked really well. And not only that, the timing worked out amazingly well. We launched a new player battle tutorial 5 days before the Brave partnership even started. So it might be a little bit, it might not be the most refined thing that we've ever created, because it was literally we got to get this in before Brave. But we're excited to go take people that are already into crypto and also make sure that they're excited for gaming too, because that, one, it's fun, and two, this is another place that you can earn for your attention. And honestly, if you're doing it in the Brave browser, it feels like double dipping, because you only have one attention, but now you have two income streams from it.
I didn't know that new player simulation / guide was strung together so quickly in anticipation for the partnership.
We were rushing. We were rushing to make sure, because we want people to have a good experience here, because at the heart of this, this goes back to why don't we talk about it being a blockchain? At the heart of it,
Right.
it just has to be a fun game, and everything else is secondary to that. So, and part of making it a fun game is a fun, easy onboarding and learning experience.
Yeah.
So, it's a tricky, complicated game, and it is still blockchain, but we do everything we know how to do and we can think to do to make it easy for people that aren't familiar with crypto to start playing and just start learning. And then for those that aren't familiar with the game, there's now like this whole battle tutorial where there are some characters that can guide you through your first battle. And if you still have difficulty, then I'm excited that I can very proudly tell people, come visit our Discord community, Telegram community, because there's more help that's available from other like really good spirited humans.
Your community is getting all the props today. And for the record, the new player tutorial is totally pro and polished. It does not seem like something that came together at the last minute. So great.
Yeah, we wanted to make sure that, we want to be good partners to Brave. We're excited for this. We are grateful for this. And it's a really astounding opportunity. And we wanted to make sure that we didn't let your community down. So we wanted to make sure that there was a good experience for people that weren't gamers to know the basics of how to do this. And we pushed to get it done. And I'm excited to say, before this announcement launched, that new player tutorial was in, and it's great to hear positive feedback from you. We did that thinking, how do we make this the best thing possible for the folks coming from Brave?
Yeah, and I'll say that I wasn't somebody with any familiarity to digital card games in general, let alone Splinterlands, and I found it remarkably helpful. So if that's any meaningful feedback.
Perfect.
But yeah, you guys are doing an awesome job, and I'm eager to see how we can help this partnership continue to blossom as a joint force.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah, this is great. I couldn't ask for better partners in Brave. You guys have been phenomenal from like the very first steps that we took in this partnership. The reps, the business development people, the community marketing, the press relations, everybody's so bright and smart. There's actually some guys that live near us. So we even meet some Brave employees in person, and they're fantastic. So I don't know. I just consider myself very lucky and very blessed, and just grateful that this partnership formed so easily, and that I firmly believe that with the overlap of our mission and our communities and our business purposes, we are better off working together in the ways that we're already doing, and looking forward to just new ways that we can explore what this looks like.
I think I speak for the Brave team when I say the feeling is mutual.
Awesome.
Aggroed, thank you so much for joining today. Before we sign off, do you want to let our listeners know where they can find you on social media?
I literally live in Discord. So if you want to like interact with me, the single best place is discord.splinterlands.com. I'm on Twitter, so you can find me at Aggroed001, and LinkedIn, I'm as Aggroed as well. So a bunch of different ways to find me. And but I live in Discord, so anybody that's ever trying to find me, just discord.splinterlands.com, and I'll be Aggroed in the top right.
Thank you so much for taking the time today. I know it's been an especially hectic week for you, so I'm grateful that you were able to find some time to come on.
Yeah, can't wait to see what else we do. Thank you, Jenny.
Have yourself a great week.